Hello.
Yay!
Hi.
Good morning, Maggie. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Iana?
Good, good. Where
Good.
are you? Looks beautiful where you are.
Yeah, I'm up in New Paltz in the Hudson Valley, New York.
Oh my goodness. It looks so, look at all those trees. Can you give us a little tour around? Can you move the camera so we can see nature?
Well, I'll try. This is my back. And just so my this little clip is really precarious.
Yeah.
So,
I should have asked you that right.
It's a lot of trees.
I know.
Tree after tree.
If anyone asked me to move my camera, I'd be like, no.
I know, right? It's like, oh, this is a precarious situation.
Although it's not actually stacked on books this time, my camera, so I feel quite fancy now. So
Exactly.
So how are you? How's it going?
You know, it's going. It's a little bit of a roller coaster. You know, it's this pandemic sure is, throwing us for a loop and making us breathe deep. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we were really coming back strong, and probably the same in the city in July, and then all of a sudden, the variant hit, and then everybody went back inside and went back online. And so, we're just trying to figure out what the best ways to be inclusive yet stay really healthy and safe for people.
Yeah.
And that's what's so scary about this variant. It's like we're not really sure which way to go, but more and more, it feels like we're going towards, just really supporting vaccinators.
I honestly, when I have these conversations with studio owners, we work with so many yoga studio owners, and it broke my heart when I would hear of a studio closing. It was because I know, any small business, it was hit tenfold as hard.
Yeah.
And we know so many of these teachers and these owners, and it's, when you own a yoga studio, you work in wellness, it's all your heart. Not that other businesses aren't, but, we're a little biased and a little bit more,
Yeah.
But especially with wellness, it's so heart driven. And when it closes, it hit me harder. So were you open before? So do you have a physical studio right now?
We do.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah, we've been really blessed to stay open. We've been open for a year. Last September is when we reopened.
Wow.
And so, it was for masks on for a long time, then masks optional is what we're doing now.
And how long before the pandemic shutdown, was your physical studio open?
Yeah, so about 6 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
5 or 6 years. I can never remember. It was 2015. So yeah 5 years, I guess.
And you were in the same location for that amount of time, and then suddenly everyone was like, shut it down. And
it was incredible because we had just come back from Costa Rica for a retreat, and we were so blessed to have that retreat actually go through and happen. I knew so many studio owners and yoga teachers who had to cancel their retreats, and we got ours right under the radar, and then COVID shut us all down.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Like, describe that moment when you realized everything has to shut down. Like, was it?
I cried. I love my community so much, and I just love going in and seeing them every day. I love how when we go in, especially in the mornings, but even in the evenings, people will just, stop and tell me a little bit about what's happening in their lives or what they're struggling with. And it just feels like then we can all go and sit in a room together and just hold space for each other, breathe together, work the energy through, come out a lot clearer, a lot calmer. And that's what the community feeling of being in a studio provides. Plus in the front of our studio, we have sort of like a little lounge living room type. So, after this class, everybody loves to hang out and just chat and get to know each other. And so then all of a sudden going online and being virtual, it was better than nothing by all means, but it certainly didn't replace that, and so, and then we thought, okay, this will just be a couple of weeks, like everybody else thought that. So here we are.
And I wonder often, I don't know the answer to this. Is it better that we didn't know it would have lasted this long, or was it, or
who
is
knows?
Had
definitely
we known,
keeping us on our toes of we really have no idea what life is going to throw us.
We had if someone had said to me that day, I remember when I got the email from my job, you will not go back to your office for a year and a half. I'd be like, what? But like, it was just like, it was slowly strung out, like a day, a week, maybe a month. And it just kept getting longer. So it was almost easier for me to accept it in these small doses of just, okay, adjusting to this and then readjusting. And then, okay, how do we get through this week? So it was almost better, I guess, now that I say it out loud, to really,
it's kind of like, yeah, I think of that as a metaphor of life. Like, it's easier if we just take it in little chunks, right? Yes. Rather than knowing like what's going to happen in our whole lifespan and all the pitfalls and everything we're going to go through. Oh my God. You know, how frightening that would be.
We would just lie in bed.
Little steps, right? One breath at a time.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like I watch a lot of HGTV lately. It's my new pandemic guilty pleasure. And I love seeing how people approach these houses that are completely, you know, they're falling apart, and they just look at them and they're just like, where do we start? You know? And I feel like that's what this year is like. Okay, just take the bathroom first. Okay, work on that. Then work on the floor. And then just slowly, eventually gets all done. And at the end, you know, the people walk through the door and they're like, oh, we got this home, you know?
Right.
We're just kind of all trying to get to that moment.
Yeah.
So you are open now. So you're open with masks on, you know, limited capacity.
Well, we're doing mask optional. Those are, you know, those are vaccinated. It's optional if you wear your mask or not. Yeah.
Right. And how, like before, how many could you fit in your studio? Now, how many can you fit with the restrictions?
You know, we were doing, you know, in my classes, you know, between 20 and 30 people in a class.
Yeah.
And now it's like, you know, 8 people come, you know, and then there's, you know, a bunch of people online, or, you know, we've now spaced it apart so 18 can fit with a nice amount of space in between mats. You know, I don't know if we'll ever get back to the days of mat to mat next to each other. Who knows, you know, but I definitely miss that energy. I miss those days of just like everybody packed in a room and breathing and sweating together and not having any fear of each other's breath, you know?
Isn't it?
That's a big one.
It really is, especially in yoga when we talk about breathing so much, and all of a sudden your breath was, or someone else's, the breathing was this thing we had to be afraid of all of a sudden.
I know. It's incredible,
and keeping it
right?
away from us, you know?
And when you think of like breath is synonymous to spirit, and like the idea of that, of like being afraid of each other's like inner essence or inner spirit is like so wild. It's like, wow, we can transmute a disease via this way. You know, it's crazy.
It really is. But I'm glad at least that people are coming back to the studio. I personally have not. I'm in the city, so it's a little different here where the studios are much smaller.
Sure.
Once you get outside of the city, there's so much more spacious, and there's windows and light. And I feel like that's a different experience. I've just, you know, I work from home still, so I would love the opportunity to get out and get into an actual space. It just hasn't happened yet. But I'm glad to hear people are you know, slowly going back. Yeah.
You know, or like a lot of like my old, you know, students who've been with me for like 18 years from different studios I've taught in the past, you know, I really miss them. Like, I feel like I built such relationships with them and known them for so long, and now I never see them anymore, or every once in a while they'll drop in for a class, but it's really hard to get people to come back consistently. That's what I'm finding.
Yeah.
You know, every once in a while I see them, but not consistently anymore.
Yeah. Do you find that you're reaching a lot more students now? Are you still doing online sessions so you can reach? I mean, that is the one great thing, you know?
It is. Except that, like, I see online, you know, a lot of people get very distracted, you know, and like I'll see them get up and walk around, or they won't stay for Shavasana, you know, or something like that. So I see, you know, how challenging it is to be at home and to have, you know, lots of stuff at home distracting you, and, you know, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah. And you have this beautiful, so I want to thank Maggie also, because she is supporting New York Yoga Life magazine, and thank you so much for that. I mean, you've been through incredible challenges and just things in the last year, and then you come out and support us, which I'm like blown away by the fact that people can do that. You know, I wrote my editor's letter the other day, and I said, I was just shocked that when we felt like we were drowning at one point. It took us 2 years to finish this issue because of everything that was happening. And when we reached out to people in the community, like, hey, hi, everyone was like, of course we'll help you. Of course we're here and we'll support. And I was just so, I get goosebumps when I think about it, that it's this community that really supports each other. And I'm so grateful for people like you that have done this. So thank you. I just wanted to thank you. And you have this really amazing training coming up, which if you can tell us a little bit about it, because it was so interesting to me, and I was just, I'll mispronounce it, so I'll let you talk about the training that's coming up. So share with us.
Sure. So I teach what's called the Meridian Flow, which is a combination of yoga and Chinese medicine. And so we do it with a 300-hour advanced teacher training, or what's called the Master's Path, which is for yogis who just want to go deeper, or yoga teachers who also want to go deeper, but not necessarily want to have to fall under the requirements of a training. Right. So basically what it is it's a real seasonal practice. And what's interesting about combining traditional Chinese medicine is that they look at each season having its own emotional signature, and that each of our organs holds an emotion or an energy of an emotion within the organs. So each season is energetically resonant with an organ. And so we work with the meridians, which are the energy pathways. In yoga, we call them nadis. And we design our practices each season around stimulating those meridians to the organs that are energetically in high tide that season. So right now we're working in the late summer season with the stomach and spleen. And we're working with those meridians. And then we design a whole practice to stimulate those meridians as they run through the fascia chains. We address the emotions. So we hold a lot of worry and doubt in our stomach and spleen. That's what's up in the collective. Yeah. Just like in the autumn coming up, we hold grief and sadness in our lungs. We hold fear in our kidneys. We hold anger in our liver. We hold anxiety in our heart. Right. So just knowing this, and knowing that it's not just like a personal thing, it's in the collective, it's in the natural environment. I find it actually easiest to see this in the fall, you know, like in the fall, you see the leaves falling, you see the plants returning to the earth, and there's a kind of a letting go and a sadness and a grief around that. Right. And so we hold that just as the natural world holds that. So when we know that, then it doesn't make our grief and our sadness feels so isolating. It's like, oh no, this is just part of what's happening. So when we do these practices, then we are stimulating the chi or the prana to run through these meridians a lot more efficiently. So therefore we're not taken down by the emotions, but they pass through us a lot faster and quicker. Right. And then there's virtues also for each season that we can look to. Like in the autumn, we're working with sadness and grief, but the virtue of integrity and courage. Yeah. So it's a beautiful practice like that. We combine a little qigong with it too, which is energy work. Right. But I find that it up-levels our practice a lot because, you know, in yoga, we're taught to breathe and just breathe through the pros. But oftentimes our mind wanders away. And so this practice, it's called Yi Qi Li, where it's guiding our energy with our mind and consciousness. Yeah. And so we're actually moving our energy like a golden thread of light up and down these meridians while we're in poses. So our mind is laser focused on moving our energy in this simple pattern while we're building strength, while we're building flexibility. So it's like a tenfold on top of what we're already getting in yoga. Wow. I love that imagery that you just, a golden thread, like I can just see it, because especially now, I mean, anything around grief or healing is, you know, we always need that. It's always a great thing. But now, I mean, it's a universal, you know, collective. And you're right. We do. I mean, for me personally, I do sometimes feel, oh, I'm the only one going through this right now. But completely. No. Every single person at some level is dealing with it and trying to work through it. And so these practices and these trainings, like the one you're offering, are so necessary. And I'm so glad that they're being offered, because I feel like it's the only way we'll get through this. You know, vaccines are great and all these things are wonderful, but there's this other level that we need to address. Yeah.
So thank you for creating this program. How did you, I've never even heard of something like this. So I was so intrigued and I was a little bit confused. I remember we were working on it together and I said,
yeah,
this is amazing and complicated and so interesting. So
yeah.
how did you even come up with this?
You know, actually, I will give a shout out to Elena Brower, who introduced the idea of Sarah Power's Insight Yoga book of this, you know, working with our organs in yin yoga.
Yeah.
And then I went and took a whole Qigong training with my mentor out in Arizona at Zen Wellness, and combined the Qigong and the yoga with this whole meridian flow and overlaid it on the yoga practice, which, you know, the Vedic and the Taoist philosophies are just like work so beautifully together and have so many of the same concepts, just with different terms. So, you know, like prana and chi, or our meridians and nadis, you know, it's all the same. So when I started doing it myself, all of a sudden I found like, wow, this is like advancing my practice hugely, because my mind, you know, especially with technology these days, our concentration is just like down to like a few seconds.
Yeah.
You know, so now this is strengthening the muscle of concentration and focus, which really, you know, that's the sixth limb of the Eightfold Path of Yoga, Dharana. And it actually makes your mind so calm and clear. Like it really produces a Zen-like mind after your yoga practice, where you're focusing and concentrating so much on moving your energy from your big toe up your inner leg to your armpit, and exhaling down the whole front body to your second toe. You know, it's very specific each season. And so, you know, it does seem like, wow, it's very complex, and it is. But the nice thing about it is that it's each season is a focus. So it's 10 weeks per season, because we do 5 seasons. They break up early summer and late summer. So there's 5 in total. So when we do each season, then all of a sudden, like, it's like, okay, right, I'm just focusing on the stomach and spleen this time of year. In the autumn, we'll be focusing on the lungs and large intestine and those meridians. And designing practices around that to stimulate all that chi. So then we're, instead of feeling grief or sadness, we're feeling a lot of integrity and courage.
Yeah.
And it really works. It's remarkable. I mean, it's a thousands of year old practice, so it's definitely lasted the test of time.
And how long have you been practicing this?
Yeah, about, I would say 10 years in total, but more specifically this meridian flow, I'd say 6 years.
Wow. Okay, so it's working.
It's really working. Yeah.
And is this one of the things that helped you get through this last year?
Totally.
All of our practices have really helped. But I really love that it's so unique in that it's tied to the seasons. And I think that, you know, especially living in a city or in an urban environment, we get so disconnected from it. And just that reminder, just when I was reading the copy and saying that it was, I said, this is brilliant. Like, it's so just, even if I just go to the park, I feel better. I feel the chaos of the city just dying down. And I love that connection to nature, even if it's, you know, even if it's just acknowledging that there is a connection that just helps as well.
And we forget that we're part of the natural world.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that we're subject to all of the energies in the natural world.
Yeah. And the crazy thing for me is I don't realize it a lot. Like, I'll be like, why am I so angry right now? You know?
Completely.
And then I'll go, my uncle has a house in Virginia and we go visit him, and I'll sit on the back porch and just stare at trees, and I'm just like, just staring for no reason. And all of a sudden my brain, it feels like a beautiful weighted blanket on my brain.
Right.
And it's the best feeling in the world. And all I did was just, you know, drive 400 miles or whatever to like this beautiful space.
Yeah.
Will you be offering this online as well? So this
totally.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically every season we do what's called an energy boosting weekend. And that is our Master's Path and 300-hour training weekend. But then we invite the community into parts of it. And so, I think it's October 2nd weekend. That Saturday, we'll be inviting the community to join us. And we'll be working with the lungs and the large intestine. We're working with the emotion of grief and sadness, as well as building our integrity and our courage. And doing all kinds of practices that stimulate that chi flow. And here's the interesting thing is that, you know, and I tell people this, you know, you don't have to just be in a yoga class to do this. You know, our lung meridian starts from the outer collarbone. It travels down the inner arm to the thumb. And then the large intestine, which is the pair to that energetically, runs from the index finger up the top of the arm to the nostril. So like when I'm waiting in line, when I'm at the dentist, when I'm all freaked out at the dentist, I'm breathing up and down my meridians, and you see it as golden threads of light, that you're just moving a spark of light up and down as you breathe. It's so calming and centering. You know, as I'm getting my teeth drilled, I'm like, okay, I'm breathing.
You're like golden thread of light, golden thread.
Totally. Yeah, you know, and it just like, it gives my mind an anchor and a really simple pattern. And actually it benefits because sometimes when we're in high stress or in trauma, it's said that our energy can actually reverse direction or get very stagnant or excessive. So this ancient practice of Yi Qi Li, of guiding our energy with our mind and breath, it evens it out. It makes it much more efficient, much more smooth. So then we're like calm and centered. And you know, Chinese medicine is all about just bringing balance back into our system so we can heal. And so this is another form of that. It's like a form of acupressure with a focused mind.
I love it. I think I'm just going to repeat golden thread of light anytime I feel stressed, because just that combination of words makes me feel better. Even if I'm not visualizing, just saying those words out loud, just feel better.
Yeah, completely.
Well, thank you so much, Maggie.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else you want to share? Any other workshops you guys have coming up? Because that's an intense training you have. I mean, you said that's like a full year essentially of training.
It's actually a 2-year training.
I mean, that's
Yeah, it's a 300-hour program.
Yeah.
Or the master's path can be done in a year or seasonally. So yeah, but this Saturday night, we also have what's called the Great Discussion. And we do that seasonally as well. And we pick a book to focus on. And then I weave the teachings into a yin and qigong class. And then we sit around afterwards and discuss it. So this time we're doing what's called spontaneous creativity, which is not an art book. It's actually written by Denzin Rinpoche. And it's more about meditations to bring out our positive qualities. And it's the most beautiful, spacious, like open, uplifting book. It's a thin little book. It's also on Audible, and it's beautifully read. I love it. It almost sounds like she's not even reading it. She's just teaching us. All these different like meditations that just open your mind, and you're able to hold what's challenging, whatever you're suffering with an open, loving spaciousness. And the teachings there, which I find so beautiful, is that then what happens is you're no longer your stress or your grief or your sadness. You're the space that's holding them. So you're much, much bigger than that small little emotion that you're struggling with. So that, you know, that to me is like the teachings encapsulated. It's really a beautiful book.
And that's
you can join us online too, Saturday night.
I was going to say, can people sign up for this online? Will you be offering?
Totally.
Great. Yeah. And what was the name of the book again?
Spontaneous Creativity.
Spontaneous Creativity.
Yeah. So we're doing that Saturday night at 6 p.m.
Amazing.
And it's also a nice way to build community and have a discussion about in-depth concepts and topics like this, and what do we do with the emotions that we're struggling with, and how we can apply these teachings into our everyday life.
We need it. We really need it.
Totally. We do.
Maggie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Really great to connect with you finally.
Yeah, and thank you for letting us know about these amazing programs that you have coming up. And everyone follow her. We're going to post this after, so you can watch this again, and we'll have it on our YouTube page as well, so people can learn more about you and your teachings. And thank you so much for this work that's helping us get through the next day, really. Day by
Come
day.
take one of my classes. I'd love to see you.
I would love. Actually, I think
fun.
on Saturday. I might actually see if I can pop in on Saturday. So
awesome. Great.
Thank you so much, Maggie.
All right. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.